when they shall stand up on their feet, their tongue's gonna consume away, right? Their eyes gonna consume away within their holes. And what's that talking about? Talking about the ICBM nuclear missiles that's gonna be coming from these different nations. All right, when they get to that precipice of that so-called world war. But see, here's what's gonna happen, man. They're gonna be fighting up against each other. But the minute the Lord comes, they're gonna combine their forces to try to fight against Yahweh side. I've spoken about within the book of Revelations, the 12th chapter, around about the 12th verse, right? It talks about and Michael and angels fought against the dragon. But see, this also goes on to say how the dragon prevailed not. Man, see, even with that, and even with your combined forces, after you decided, look, we can't fight against each other anymore, we're gonna fight up against the power of the Most High, you're gonna find out that your power is no power, man. Because your power came forth through the inspiration that the Most High gave. Going into the book of Isaiah, where it talks about the Most High has created the smith. See, you got it to where you got it, an inventor, all right? But see, you had it to where you had a smith, an inventor, right? A scientist that incepted these ICBM nuclear missiles, all right? But really, the Most High is above that because he created the inventor who invented it, man. All right? So how are you going to fight up against that? The simple answer is you're not going to be able to. See, the Most High is going to prevail against that, man. All right? With relative ease, man. Okay? This is back in the book of Isaiah, the 34th chapter, says, "For all the indignation of the Lord is upon all the nations, and his fury is upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them." All right? So you got all them armies out there that they're going to have, out there in the valley of decision, out there in the valley of Jehoshaphat, because the Most High is really summoning all of them nations out there into the Middle East, man. That's why you got so much activity out there, because, hey, Joel, the 3rd chapter, prophesied that. Right, see, all things are happening just like how the Most High planned it. With time of peace, all right, time when he's gathering the nations out there in the Middle East, because what? Because he put the prophecy set forth, all right, and I believe it's in the book of Isaiah, the 55th chapter, when I see that, where it talks about how the Most High said his word shall go forth out of his mouth, but it ain't going to return unto him void. So you get it to where you have the king or a dictator, you're going to say, look, this, that, and the third is going to be done. And that's what the Most High is like, man. The Most High said this, that, and the third is going to be done. And I ain't going to come back with a messenger going to come and say, look, man, we couldn't achieve that. Right? See, this is the Most High we're talking about. See, that word's going forth. It hit the prophets, because the scripture talks about how the Most High, in the book of Amos, the 3rd chapter, and the 3rd verse, the scripture talks about how the Most High, right, reveals these secrets unto the prophets. All right, so we see those secrets, man. That's not really a big deal to us, man. How these nations are gathering up in the Middle East and all that's not a big deal. See, the scripture says he reveals that secret unto them, that word. So we write it down on the papers, papyrus, videos, whatever it is, whatever generation it was. Because the spirit of the prophet was subject unto the prophets. All right, and then that word's gonna go out forth, but it ain't gonna return. We ain't gonna turn back unto the Lord and say, "Oh Lord, this wasn't able to be achieved, man." All right. We ain't gonna, you ain't gonna have it to where the spiritual entities of the Most High, the angels, gonna go minister unto the Most High and tell him how that America wasn't gonna be taken down. All right, but see, that's why the scripture says the word of the Most High is gonna go out, but it ain't gonna return unto him void. It's gonna accomplish that which he delights in, man. Right, which is the destruction of the wicked and the setting up of the righteous, man. That's what the Most High delights in. He delights in bringing down the pride, right, of the wicked, and setting up the humility, setting up the humble. That's why the scripture says also the meek shall inherit the earth, man. All right, he delights in bringing down a Holy Spirit, man. All right, and he delights in bringing up a guy that's humble, and he's just about the word of the Most High. The Most High will raise that guy up and set him up to be over many people, man. Right, what's a good example of that? The man King David. He was a sheep herder, but see, that was all a spiritual thing, because what the Most High is likened unto us as a flock. It was a flock of sheep, man. All right, and you see, he was taking care of the sheep, but really he was dealing. That was like an omen, man, of what he was going to do. Pretty much when he gets set up in power, man. All right, so this is back in the book of Isaiah, the 34th chapter. Right, and the 2nd verse, it says, 3rd verse, rather more, it says, "Their slain shall be cast out, right? Their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and their mountains shall be melted with blood." So mountains could be indicative of the governments, all right? Because when you go into the book of Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, it talks about the mountains of Israel, the valleys of Israel, and so on and so forth. So they're different governments, wherever they be, whether you're in America or Europe or France or whatever, all right? By way of them the missiles coming, all right, your carcass is gonna be laid up, and the blood was gonna be all over the place, man. In fact, the scripture says in the book of Isaiah, the 58th chapter and 11th verse, all right, something to the effect of, let me get that right quick. So Psalms the 58th chapter. Right, Psalms the 58th chapter and the 10th verse, it says, the righteous shall rejoice when he seeth the vengeance. So the righteous is going to be in a state of rejoicing, man, when they seeth the vengeance, and he shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked. Why? Because it's going to be like this, as it's written out here within the scriptures. There's going to be so much loss of the fruit of the womb, all right, that this prophecy is going to be put forth, man. All right, which directly links up to what it says within the book of Psalms the 58th chapter and the 10th verse. Okay, so it says, their slain also shall be cast out and cast out for their stink, and they shall come up out of their carcasses, and their mountains shall be melted with their blood. Okay, so we got the understanding off of that. All right, and it says, and all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. So if you look at the skies and it's rolled together as a scroll, what does that make you think about? Right, that makes you think about the mushroom clouds, man. Well, it's gonna come by way of those, them different weapons that them different countries are developing, man, to send forth on them Americas, man. So let me read that again so you can visualize. So it says, the heavens, right, shall dissolve. Okay, 2 Peter is the 3rd chapter. So the heavens, right, the word heaven comes from the Hebrew word shemayim, right, which means the skies. It means the spiritual realm. Right, and it also heavens also it represents a state of being in power, man. All right, so when he says it's come about their heavens shall be dissolved, right? Hey, you're gonna have it to where Esau's power structure, right? His great buildings and so on and so forth. That's gonna be destroyed, man. All right, that's gonna be brought down to the ground, man. That's gonna be brought down to dust, right? Quoting the scripture I quoted earlier, the Lord said it Himself: "There shall be not left one stone upon the left." There shall not be left one stone upon another that's not going to be thrown down, man. Hey, the book of Malachi, the 1st chapter, right around about the 4th verse, it says, Edom saith, if we are impoverished, we shall return and build the desolate waste. What the Lord said? He said they're going to build, but I'm going to throw it down, man. All right, so the Most High has allowed Esau to build up so that he could take his pride down in destroying his society, man. The book of Obadiah, the 1st chapter and the 3rd verse, it says, the pride of thine heart has deceived thee. Right? Because it's a powerful thing to think you can come up against the Most High with your so-called technology that's been created by the person that's been created by the Most High. Right? That's a loop of inconsistency right there, man. All right? That's like you creating this robot, and that robot's going to come up with better technology than you, but you created the damn thing. That's likened unto Esau, man. All right? So it says here, the 4th verse, all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and their hosts, right, their hosts shall fall down, right, as the leaf that falleth off the vine, right, and that falleth as the falling. So like it says, as a falling fig from a fig tree. It says, my sword shall be bathed in heaven, and it shall come down upon Idumea. Now we know Idumea to be Edom, all right? You people, you guys believe in the scriptures?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. He's more scripture than scripture.
Oh, right. Okay, so if you don't mind me asking questions. Church of England. No, this is
Catholic?
No, this is the truth. This is the truth. Where you from? Where you from, man?
I'm from the hotline down.
Oh, see, you're a scoffer.
He's a scoffer.
You're a scoffer. That's all good. So you boys,
He's been called many things, but many
you boys believe in the scriptures then?
Football.
Oh, you've been drinking. That's all good, man. That's all good.
Enjoy life. Enjoy.
You're an Israelite anyway, man. Whether you believe that or not, you're an Israelite, man. All right, man.
Church of England.
Nah, man. It's back in the book of Isaiah, the 34th chapter and the 5th verse. All right. It says, "For my sword shall be bathed in heaven." So you're gonna see the Most High have it to where, hey, every last one of the missiles gonna be blown. It's gonna be used, man. You're gonna have it to where them ICBM nuclear missiles gonna come out their silos, man. All right, and you're gonna see the Most High's sword bathed up in the skies, man. Right, projecting through. The scripture talks about how it's gonna be like, it's like, I think it's in Joel, the 3rd chapter or the 2nd chapter, how it's like their mouth was like the mouth of lions, man. All right, and it was likened unto horses, because when you what's a horse indicative of power, and when you hear the sound, it's that thumb and that bass, right, projecting through out into them, out into wherever it's going to, man. All right, see the mouth of it. That's where the package is, man. All right, the rest is just propulsion. But see, all of that propulsion is going to have it to where you're going to have a little noise. All right, a lot of activity happening out there in the sky, and people going to be looking up, and they're going to see the Lord's sword, which is, what's a sword, man? A sword is an instrument of instituting judgment. Therefore, a modern day sword is going to be what? It's going to be them ICBM nuclear missiles, man. All right, so the scripture says, my sword shall be bathed in heaven, and it shall fall upon Idumea. Who is Idumea? Esau. The elite banking families are in power right now. All right, the scripture talks about how Esau came out wasted with his skin. He was red all over, man. Those are the elite banking families. That's why they know themselves as the Rothschild, the Red Shield, man. All right, because when they went out there and they set up their first so-called businesses out there in Germany, they had a red shield on the door, and people used to say, you know, where you gonna borrow your money from? You're gonna borrow it out there from the Red Shield, man. Hence the name Rothschild, man. See, really, their surname, the original surname, right? Because they tried to hide it and, you know, misconstrue it, because they're part of them so-called Jewish rights, man. They're Ashkenazis, man. All right, the Herodians coming back, quote unquote. All right. The ones, you know, the tares, man. But see, they ain't like the tares of all, you know, because at least them guys, you know, you read about the Herodians, they were Edomites that had mingled their blood amongst the Israelites, but they was all Edomites, so they had the complexion of Israelites. But see, these so-called Jews, they straight up look like Edomites, man. But they want to call themselves the real Jews, man. But see, that's why the scripture is gonna have. That's why the scripture says they are, they are the synagogue of Satan, man. All right. Right now, let me get back onto the scriptures here. This is the book of Isaiah, the 34th chapter, and the 5th verse. It says, "My sword shall be bathed in heaven, and it shall behold, it shall come up on Idumea, right, and upon my people, upon the people of my curse to judgment." It says, "The sword of the Lord is filled with blood, and is made with fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, and with the kidneys and the rams." Okay, so pretty much that's the point hit on that. So let's go back onto 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter. This is book of 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, and the 3rd verse. It says, "A sword is sent upon you. Who is it that may turn it back?" So once that red button's pressed, right, whether it's Russia's gonna press the right button, whether it's Iran, or Syria, or Libya, like the scripture says, right, or China. Once that red button is pressed, you can't. There ain't gonna be no fail-safe out of that, man. There ain't gonna be no way to send that back, man. All right, that's what the scripture says. The sword's going forth. But really, when the man Ezra saw this, he had no other way to describe it, because he didn't know what it was. Right, this was way before the time of the ICBM nuclear missile. So he didn't know what it was. So he just said, "Look, the sword is sent out there, man." All right, the sword's going forth out there. All right, who's gonna be it that can turn it back? And when he saw that projectile going forth, he said, "Look, the way that's coming forth with that fire and that Roski, you ain't gonna be able to turn that back." All right. So it says there, 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter. All right. Plagues are sent upon you. And what is he that can drive them away? It says, may any man drive away, and this is nice. It says, "May any man drive away an hungry lion in the woods, or may any quench one, or may anyone quench the fire in the stubble when it hath begun to burn." It says, "May one turn again the arrow that is shot from a strong archer." And I quoted that a little bit earlier on, man. Because once that arrow is gone forth, man, right, from a strong archer, it's going, man. There's just nothing you can do about it. All you can do is sit and wait, right, and wait for the destruction to come. And that's likened onto what's happening out there. You know, you got the peace talks and the ceasefires, and you got it to where they're talking about how the markets are on the comeback and on the rebound. But see, that's all deception, because this is what the scripture talks about. It talks about how that judgment has been set forth, and you ain't gonna be able to rebuttal that judgment. You ain't gonna be able to counter that judgment. All right, we go to the book of let me jump to this verse here. This is the book of 2 Ezra 16 and 14. It says, "Behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth." Okay, Isaiah the 55th chapter and the 11th verse. All right, it's Isaiah 55 and 11, and this is what the Most High said. All right, so it says, "So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth, shall not return unto me void." And I quoted that scripture. I said I was going to get it, man. It's not going to return unto the Lord void, right? But it says here, "But it shall accomplish," right? "But it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it." So it's not only going to achieve that, it's going to prosper in that, man. See, we've been reading about all the destruction of the different places and how the Most High is going. Hey, but see, here's the flip side to it, because I go into the destruction a lot, all right? But here's the flip side of it. With the destruction of this society comes forth with the setting up of Yasharallah, man. All right, that's what comes forth out of it. See, that's also the words that the Lord has sent forth, man. And that ain't gonna return unto the Lord void, man. All right, the scripture talks about how the Most High is gonna make Jerusalem a praise upon the earth, man. It talks about how we gonna be a perfect rest. See, also that's gonna be accomplished. Those are also the words of the Most High, and they're gonna accomplish that the thing whereto the Lord, right, has sent forth for them to accomplish, man. So let me read that precept again. This is the book of Isaiah 55 and 11. It says, "So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void." So us being in a state of peace, us being kings and priests and so on and so forth, as far-fetched as it is, the Lord said that's going to be accomplished, man. Hey, our enemies, the so-called Rothschilds, all of them, man. Right, the scripture talks about how they're going to be, they're going to minister unto us in fetters of iron, man. They're going to come down and bow down at our feet, man. That's what the scripture says. Those are all things that we got to look forward to as the 12 tribes of Israel, man. Of the people of whom the Most High taketh pleasure in, man. In fact, the scripture talks about it in Deuteronomy the 7th chapter and the 6th verse. It says, "Thou art an holy people unto me." All right, you're separate. You ain't like Moab. You ain't like Ammon. You ain't like Japheth. You are separate unto me. You are holy people unto me. And he goes on further to say, "And I have set thee above all the people upon the face of the earth." But see, we can't. That's far-fetched right now. Because when you go into the book of Job, what did Job say? He said, "Now have I become their byword." All right, we become their a proverb, man. All right, a thing of hysteria, man. But see, the Most High is going to flip all of that and take all of those, because those were really the curses that came upon the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, and you will see it, right? When you get the scattering, you got guys that talking about the Gentiles and they're really dealing with the heathen. Really, when you really talking about the guys, right, that were sent forth amongst the different nations, and their lineage goes back under the 12 tribes. They live under the same curses, man. They're living right underneath the same curses, man. They're the last hired, right? First fired. All right, they find no ease within the cities, right? Going back onto all what the prophecy set forth, man. But see, that's all gonna be flipped off. Why? Because as you read in the scriptures, the Most High said that's the word that He sent forth, and ain't gonna return unto Him until He accomplishes that which He pleases, man. All right. So let's get back onto where I started first, with this, which was in the book of 2 Peter's. All right. It's the book of 2 Peter's, the 3rd chapter and the 3rd verse. It says, "Knowing this first, that they shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lust." So see, now we see the full complete circle of that, because see, now we've proven that that's all your own lust, man. That's all the desires of your own heart, man. All right, right. If you was talking and walking within the directions of the scriptures, you was gonna be pushing forth the vibration of the scriptures, man. Right, which is the setting of the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, which is the destruction of this society. All right, the elimination of the wicked. That's things pertaining to the scriptures. Those are things wherein the Most High delighteth in, man. All right, so it says they're walking after their own lust and saying, "Where is the promise of His coming?" All right, see, they're like, look, man, the scriptures is done away with, man. Hey, in fact, the scripture says, "A fool saith that there is no God." When that goes to show you that Esau is a fool, man, because Esau is on this Esau is perpetually on this agenda, right? To what's the word I'm looking for? To disannul, right, the existence of the Most High, man. All right, that's why they search out the deep, But see, every time they search out the deep, they find something new. Because why? Because the Most High is constantly creating stuff, man. When they go out there into the sky and try to measure the skies out for the stars and so on and so forth, well, they always seeing something new, man. Right? Because the Most High again, is perpetually creating stuff, man. All right, but see, that's why the scripture talks about how he really is a base creature, man. Because all of the different nations, all of the Most, now they had their own deities and gods and so on and so forth. But they all knew that the God in Israel was the one, man. In fact, you had certain kings. I believe it was one of the kings in Assyria, right? And he had a situation, but when the situation was resolved, he said, man, damn, now I know that really the power of Israel, the God of Israel, is the one, man. Now, he still did his own bullshit, all right? He still dealt with his own madness, all right? But he recognized that, look, man, this is the power. In fact, when we was walking over, when we was taken out of the Egyptian captivity, the different nations that saw us walking, man, they were great feel fair upon them, man, right? Because they knew the power of the Most High was upon man, all right? But see, now you got it to where you got this base man, right? This base creature that's in power right now in Esau, and his thing is like, no, they ain't no God, man. But see, principally, that's really to take away the 12 tribes of Israel, because the scripture does talk about how they've taken crafty counsel against the anointed of the Most High, all right? And one of those things is to push out that disinformation, right? Whether it's the so-called Big Bang Theory, right? Whether it is a string theory, all right? Of which all of those are theories, but nothing's proven. Right, but see, science or math or truth, all right, truth and math is one of the same thing, man. Because math comes from the Hebrew word of math, meaning truth, man. Right. In other words, one will always give you truth, man. All right, and wickedness will always incept you. The wages of sin is death, man. See, those are all truths that are constants within the scriptures, man. But see, Esau will have you believe that that's not